We are moving on to our fourth lesson in our unit today. We're going to be talking about absolute values and integers. Your learning target, you can evaluate absolute value today. That's my main learning target for you. I'm going to give you an absolute value expression, and you're going to simplify or evaluate it. So in order to apply absolute value skills, you need to know some vocab words. Opposite, integer, absolute value. Opposite is the opposite sign of an integer. Okay, I'm making it seem way too complicated. It's really a very natural thinking process. Like the opposite of 2 is negative 2. The opposite of negative 4 is positive 4. Okay, so it's just opposite sign. Yes?
What's the opposite of 0.4?
Negative 0.4.
That's
Yeah.
very general.
Integers. Integers are defined as your natural counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, and their opposites. So it goes, this goes all the way to infinity, and this goes all the way to negative infinity. So integers are just negative and positive whole numbers. Notice there is no decimals. There are no decimals in an integer. An integer is no decimal, no fraction. It's just a normal number that can be positive or negative. Here is my main learning target. The definition of absolute value is distance from 0 on a number line. And you might, I think you touched base on this a little bit in 6th grade. We definitely do it a lot in 7th and 8th grade is intense, the application process with absolute value. So you always think about how far is a number away from 0. And here's how we symbolize absolute value. It looks like straight lines. So if I said the absolute value of 2, do you see how I set that up? The 2 lines means absolute value. That means how far away is 2 from 0? Well, it's 1, 2 spots away. So you'd say 2. The absolute value of negative 2? How far away is negative 2 from 0?
2.
1, 2. Notice they are the same. They are equidistant. That's how we say it. Equally distant. Equidistant. So absolute value is distance from 0. So anytime I'm dealing with absolute value, I'm always going to say to you, how far from 0 is the number? If I had the absolute value of 54, and kids are like, don't know. I say, well, how far is 54 from 0? 54. If I have the absolute value of negative 21, and kids are like, ooh, I don't know. How far away is negative 21 from 0?
21.
It's 21 spots. Notice that it is always positive. There's only a couple instances where it turns negative. Learning target number, sub-target with this is comparing. This is huge. You didn't do this much last year. This is dealing with integers, positive and negative numbers. What you do is look to see which one is furthest to the left on the number line. That is the smaller number. I'm making it so if you plotted things like negative 4.4 and negative 0.5, if I were to plot those on a number line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 5. So negative 4.4 is almost to the half, right? And then negative 0.5 is right here. Then negative 0.5 is smaller because it's closer to the left, furthest to the left. Here's how I tell my kids to do it and how you'll hear me say it a bunch. The bigger, and write this down, the bigger the negative, the smaller it is. One of the most important 7th grade standards is being able to identify that if a number is a bigger negative, it's a smaller number. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to write that down. Okay, moving on to, let's compare 4.3 and negative 1.1. These are easy. If it's a negative, of course it's smaller than a positive number. I like those. Negative 0.5 and negative 1/2. Well, negative 1/2 is negative 0.5, so what is it? Equals. Okay. Now remember, the bigger the negative, the smaller it is. So if I had negative 23 and negative 59, 59 is more negative, so it's a smaller number. So make sure that you remember that for the whole entire lifetime. Okay, we are going to list these numbers in order from smallest to biggest, least to greatest. All right, so remember that the bigger the negative, the smaller it is. So which one has the most negatives? I have a negative 7, negative 6, negative 5. Negative 7 is the most negatives, so that would go first. So you would say negative 7.01. What's my next biggest negative?
6.99.
Yep, negative 6.99 will go second. Okay, now what about 5.02 and 5.2? They're not the same. You go place value by place value. Same, different. So 0.2 is bigger than 0, so that'll be the next one. And then negative 5.02. 7. My next biggest, okay, again I'm going, since they look so much alike, I'm going place value by place value. Same, same. I have a 1 here and a 0 there, so that's smaller than that. Okay, so it'd be 8.001 followed by 8.01. All right, that's comparing and ordering positive and negative integers. Okay, remember how we just find opposites on that first page? We said opposite is the opposite sign. So what's the opposite of positive 5.4, Jada?
Negative.
Yep. So the opposite of positive 5.4 is negative 5.4. The opposite of positive 1/2 is, class?
Negative.
Yeah, I need my class to tell me.
0.5.
Negative 1/2. Don't turn it to a decimal unless it tells you to. The opposite of positive 3.21?
Negative 3.21.
Negative, oops, I forgot the 0. Negative 3.201.
Sure.
The opposite sign of negative 7.404? Positive 7.404. The opposite of negative 9/3?
Positive 9/3.
All right, there we go. That is applying opposites. So we've ordered, we've defined vocab words, we have done the opposites. Now let's get to the good stuff. Absolute value. Remember that absolute value represents distance from 0 on a number line. They will never be negative, and they act as a grouping symbol. I know I'm moving fast, I'm going to pause in a second. As a grouping symbol when there's operation inside. Last thing I'm going to say before I take a mini break, you always ask yourself when I give you an absolute value, how far away from 0 is the number? Okay, again, you're always going to ask yourself when you're dealing with absolute value, how far from 0? So, the absolute value of 5. How far away is 5 from 0?
5.
5. That's the final answer. The absolute value of negative 13. How far away is negative 13 from 0?
13.
Yeah. Do you see how I am doing exactly what I wrote down? Always ask yourself, how far from 0? Negative absolute value of 23. How far away is 23 from 0?
23.
Now look what I'm going to do here. That negative goes down. Do you know why that negative went down? It's not inside the absolute value. If it was inside the absolute value, it wouldn't be there. But do you see how the negative is on the outside? That means negative 1 times that. Or you can just bring the negative down. Next one. Negative the absolute value of negative 45. I'm breaking this up. How far away is negative 45 from 0?
45.
45. What should I do with this negative?
Bring it down.
Bring it down. And I bring it down because it's outside of the absolute value sign.
But it's inside too.
Inside too, yep. But you have to evaluate and then bring it down. So I evaluated the negative 45 absolute value, which was 45, and then write it down. Oh my goodness, now I have operations with it. Negative the absolute value of negative 15 plus 10. Nope.
Negative 5.
Okay, so how far away is negative 15 from 0?
Negative or 15.
15 away from 0, bring down the negative, plus 10. Negative 15 plus 10, what does that turn into? Negative 5. And we haven't had a formal lesson on negatives yet, but yep, that's what it is. Negative 5.
Here.
All right, this turns into the absolute value of 7 plus 15. Analyze where I got those numbers. 3 plus 4 is 7. 3 times 5 is 15. Order of operation.
22.
How far away is 7 from 0?
7.
7 plus 15. 22. All right, the last thing I want to do with absolute values with you is compare. You're going to evaluate inside the absolute value and then see which one is furthest to the left on a number line. Really, it's evaluate, see what's bigger. That's what you should do. So the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. The absolute value of positive 3 is 3. They are the same. Negative 3 is 3 away from 0. 3 is 3 away from 0. They're the same. The absolute value of 7 plus 5 is the absolute value of 12. The absolute value of 4 plus 5 is the absolute value of 9. 12 is 12 away from 0. 9 is 9 away from 0. So that one's bigger. The absolute value of negative 7. Negative 7 is 7 away from 0. 9 is 9 away from 0. Smaller. And last one. 0.001 is 0.001 away from 0. Negative 0.01 is 0.01 away from 0. And then my bigger one is my 0.01. Okay. And that's the end of your learning target today. It's evaluating absolute value signs. You did good. We didn't do the bottom half, but that's not needed for 7th grade.